Hello, this is Shira, and this is the outlook for the Capricorn full moon of June 24th, 2021. So, to start off, we have the moon at 3 degrees Capricorn, and it is within approximately a day and a half. Uh, applying a conjunction with Pluto at 26 degrees retrograde in Capricorn. So what does this mean? Anytime there is an applying aspect, and in this case, the full moon conjoining Pluto, and depending on the aspect, trines will be a little easier, but in this case, a conjunction, so it is considered a hard aspect, uh, depending on who you talk with. Some astrologers believe that a conjunction is not a hard aspect, but in this case, the moon is approaching Pluto, and so there's going to be a certain tension in the air with that conjunction starting about the time of the full moon, and up until roughly around the 26th or late on the 25th. And there's going to be a certain tension that we will not know exactly where it's coming from, very likely. Not particularly, but we will have this sense of something's just not quite right. Something's a little bit off. And then you add to that, you have what is called a Pythagorean triangle. And so with this, the full moon will be at 3 degrees Capricorn, and there will be an applying trine with 13 degrees Uranus in Taurus, and then there's going to be the square between Uranus and Taurus and Mars at 8 degrees Leo, and then the quincunx to the full moon in Capricorn. So this is an aspect which can create tension, and the release is always the trine. Now here it's the day of a roughly 10-degree difference here. So at this particular hour, the moon is at 3 degrees. Uranus, as in Taurus, is at 13. So it's approaching, applying the trine. So this is the release. And somewhere the tension's going to build up in our lives. And again, where this occurs in your personal birth chart will be of utmost importance. We will have certain aggravations, which is connected with the square, in this case between Taurus and Leo, Mars and Uranus, and the full moon quincunx between Mars in Leo and the moon. But we will be desperate to feel some kind of outlet. So the outlet could be creative. It could be in your chart. It could deal with your career. You may put a lot of energy into working overtime or really paying attention to your goals on this day or within the next day or so. Uh, but it's very important to consult your personal birth chart as to where this Pythagorean will exist or be felt. Okay, so in general, we will have this annoying sense of frustration, and we may feel frustrated because we have to find the positive and an outlet. This is a great day or great time to really focus on the positive, to kind of release some of that energy. And that's really what a Pythagorean triangle is about. Where there is tension, there is release of tension within the trine. Okay, nonetheless, with the full moon, this pattern will be a little more exaggerated, and with the applying conjunction to the powerhouse of Pluto. And Pluto, what now? I should say in Capricorn, what does it rule? It rules power, those in positions of power, authority, government, karma, and structure. And when you have Pluto, in this case, in Capricorn and retrograde, and it will further oppose Venus in Cancer, and you add to that, you have the approaching or applying conjunction with the full moon to Pluto. Well, that's it's really like rubbing sandpaper into a wound. So in the news, in our personal lives, there may be some upheavals, and there's going to be, on one hand, a lot going on with frustration and possible disagreements, aggravations, and just this certain annoyance of needing to release this energy. And with the opposition between Venus in Cancer and retrograde Pluto, we must be careful not to get into, I guess you could say, petty disagreements, especially since, Pluto is power. And when it's retrograde, Pluto is not really feeling good right now, okay? And so the power of Pluto is backwards. It's kind of like getting stuck in gear. And then you got Venus kind of agitating that Pluto in Cancer. And of course, what does Cancer rule? It rules home and family and security. And Pluto likes power in Capricorn, even much more so. It's retrograde. And you add, you add the moon applying a conjunction, full moon at that, and you have this quincunx square trine. We are just going to be feeling a little out of sorts, okay? So we must be careful not to get into petty disagreements, and there could be issues for some of us with regards to the love life. It's like a power struggle. Pluto wants power. This is retrograde Pluto, okay, at that, with sweet Venus in Cancer. And Venus is about love, so there could be power struggles between our feelings and sentiments of love and feelings of security and home and family, and feeling like we have to have our guard up towards, our loved ones or a particular loved one. And so this can be very annoying, to say the least. So we have to just kind of stay calm, just be more objective. But because of these aspects being so intense, especially at the time or around the time of the full moon, we will have to be careful of our words as well. And especially since we're talking about Uranus in the fixed sign of Taurus, with Mars in the fixed sign of Leo and the quincunx. And again, the trine, and wherever that is in our birth chart, will indicate where we can find positive release or a positive outlook. Okay, so moving along, we do have Saturn still retrograde in Aquarius, and that's at 12 degrees. And to add to this, this makes a somewhat of a wide square to Mars to add to some of this tension. So there's going to be, on the broader scale, a T-square between Saturn in Aquarius retrograde and Uranus in Taurus and Mars in Leo. So, what does that mean? So, wow. Okay, so we got this tension going on with an applying conjunction to Pluto. We got this yes, we do have a quincunx, but we have a full applying Pythagorean, and then we have a T-square fixed within fixed signs. So, wow, very tense time. And so this is not just within our personal lives. We will have to find some kind of positive outlook, but within the world at large. You may hear of certain conflicts and people just getting into just heavy disagreements, and we're talking a fixed T-square here. Okay, so anytime you have fixed signs, two or more individuals will be very likely entrenched in their point of view, not likely to move from their ideals or opinions. And you can guarantee that with Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. This is going to be a very tense time of stubborn outlooks, ideals, and opinions. And because we have especially this square between the idealistic and opinionated, yet humane, but real smart, intellectual Saturn in Aquarius and the stubborn Uranus and Taurus, we will have to be cautious of group conflicts that can be in the world at large. We may hear about, and in our personal lives, that could be connected also with social media. This can be connected with this group against that group, these people against these people, or certain tensions connected even with social media, however that may be. So it's hard to see exactly where the tension is going to be, but at this particular time, there's going to be a lot of fixed attitudes regarding opinions and ideals. And so we will have to take a hint from this applying trine between the full moon and Uranus for some kind of relief. Now, Jupiter at this point in time is still retrograde at 2 degrees Pisces. And as aforementioned in other videos, this is a great time for all types of medical or metaphysical healing, spirituality, kind of a dreamy Jupiter aspect. So we may live a little bit in a fantasy land of ideals and visions for the future, but hey, Jupiter is in the old ruler of Pisces, so it's kind of good, and especially retrograde, it will be kind of good to have a positive outlook in all this tension that's going on or around the full moon. And we still have Neptune in Pisces at 23 degrees. So again, although Jupiter retrograde in Pisces is not actually making any kind of conjunction, certainly not by aspect, with Neptune, it does connect by sign. So there is this kind of dreamy, idealistic, happy-go-lucky feeling that everything's going to be okay, great outlook for the future, talks of healing, and a lot hinting on spirituality. And this is good because in all this tension that is going on with these aspects and everything connected in that manner to the full moon, it will be nice to see some kind of positive outlook, forward futuristic outlook, to release some kind of stress and frustration that we will be going through. But we will have to see the reality. And so sometimes Pisces doesn't always do that. Pisces can see more imagination or fantasy, that which is not real, than reality. So we will still have this vision of the future that's very positive on one hand, but maybe not so realistic. But again, Jupiter, as with Neptune and Pisces, is great for healing. So we will still have a great outlook about healing, good news regarding medicine, cures, all this type Pisces theme. All right, so we do have Mercury now no longer retrograde. It is direct. It goes direct on June 22nd. So it will have just moved forward 2 days earlier. However, it is still in its post-retrograde phase. And there is, at this time now, that Mercury is trudging forward and applying square between Neptune. So, oh boy, what a full moon. That's all I can say. We've got all these, well, ouchy aspects. And then we have implying bit deceptive Mercury in Gemini applying square to deceptive Neptune. So it's like we're in a bit of a fog on or around the full moon about kind of like, oh, everything is going to be so great, and oh, it's getting better, and there could be some communications that are real sweet, a lot of affection, but there's this underlying uncertainty or unease that is what he or she is saying. Is that true? I don't know if I can trust this person. And so this is kind of another annoyance. So it's almost like to some degree that day or just before, just after the full moon, there's this sense of tension in the air, maybe even outright disagreements. And yet, at the same time, with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, it's like we're going to be a little bit in fantasy land, maybe cognitive dissonance, like you can see the tension, but you don't want to admit to it because, that there's a little deception going on there with Mercury now direct and Neptune. It's like, well, let's just be positive. Let's just be, let's just get along to get along. I'm not really sure if I can trust this person, but, and that may not just be romantically. I mean, it's within all connections. It can deal with, career, creative, people that we deal with on a everyday level. And so this is kind of going to be the vibe around that time of the full moon, even in the news, is this certain person or that certain person telling the truth? There's going to be some questioning of individuals like, are they being straight with us or something, Meanwhile, back at the ranch, there's going to be this tension here. And, people having a little bit of a time with each other. So this is going to be one hefty full moon. All right, so we do have a beautiful, sweet trine, however. Thank goodness for that. Between Neptune in Pisces and Venus at 27 degrees Cancer. So, Venus is feeling a little edgy, but, well, gee, even if it is feeling a little edgy and our affections we feel are being taken advantage of or we're feeling hurt, we're still a little bit in fantasy land going on here with Neptune in Pisces. So the good news is here, folks, that we will have a positive outlook. And that seems to be the theme with this full moon. Is maybe everything isn't going so great. We may not be happy with the significant other or relationships. And again, that's not just romantic. It can be work, career, creative, family, kids, whoever, whatever have you. And we have yet this Pollyanna-ish, somewhat positive fantasy land outlook that everything's going to be just okay. I know he or she cares about me, or in the news, I know everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be working out. They're going to negotiate. Let's just get along to get along. And so that's kind of good. Okay, so there is some sweet and sour aspect between this somewhat wide trine of Neptune to Venus in Cancer. And the sun will be in Cancer, and oh yes, there is this full moon exact at 3 degrees. So naturally, because it is a full moon, there's going to be the bit of conflict there, but again, it depends on where this is in your chart, as with all these aspects that I'm mentioning here too. So there is also going to be between a Leo Mars at 8 degrees and the Sun at 3 degrees Cancer. There's also going to be a semi-square, so that adds a little bit to this tension. And the theme is like, it may not be always outright conflict, or disagreement. It may be a lot of bickering or nitpicking, but the tension buildup is clearly there. Okay, so let's find something more positive here. All right, so we do have Mercury at 16 degrees, barely trudging forward in Gemini, and it's post shadow from the retrograde. And we have a trine, hurrah, to Saturn at retrograde Aquarius. So our thinking may still be a little sluggish because, now 2 days earlier, Mercury is moving direct, station direct on the 22nd. And Saturn is still retrograde. So although we've got this Pollyanna positive outlook, which is good, we will start to feel additionally positive, especially in the intellectual academic sphere, between Mercury trining Saturn. So Mercury makes a beautiful trine in air, Gemini to Saturn in Aquarius retrograde on the full moon. So that's great. So on or around the full moon, we will have some kind of, or we may find some kind of solution to something that's technological. Could be that there was issues with maybe hacking, computers, technology, and on or around, and I must say sometimes it doesn't always occur right on the day of the full moon or new moon, whatever, in this case the full moon, we will find some kind of a solution with these matters, something technological, hacking. We will have open conversation about all forms of communication. Now, this is the beauty in all this ouchiness, I guess you could say, with this chart, this full moon chart, is number one, we will have a positive outlook because of the water trine here, and the Neptune and Jupiter Pisces thing. And the best part is here, Saturn in Aquarius with Mercury and Gemini. So that's really going to open up some doors for communication. And this aspect of all these aspects reminds us to be what? To be objective, Saturn in Aquarius, even retrograde, and Mercury in Gemini. This will help us to keep some kind of detachment with reference to our communications to each other. So this is the beauty in this chart. So with any kind of negative aspects, we have to somewhat pull back and not get so entrenched with aggravation or words and tension and opinions, that if we have or develop a positive outlook and remain detached, we will be better to communicate with each other. And this is a positive, not to get so entrenched with drama or tension, conflict, frustration, aggravation, of which we may see on or around the time of the full moon. And this beautiful trine will allow us to pull back, be detached, and not just find a positive attitude in all this, but communicate without the drama, without the toxicity of some of the negativity with all of this. Okay, and so there are some positive aspects here. Okay, so we will just have to find the release, and that is what is positive about all this. So, we have to look for the positive here. There is a great trine between the South Node in Sagittarius and the Mars in Leo. So Sagittarius and Leo are about enthusiasm. They're fire signs. Then you have a sextile between the North Node and Mars, and that's about balance. It's about air and fire. So in all of any kind of these aspects, there will be tension. There is the yin and the yang, the good and the bad. So if we can find creative releases here, the sextile is great for expressing our creativity, our originality, our inventiveness. And again, that comes back to the trine here as well, with Saturn in Aquarius and Mercury in Gemini. So the trick here is to be positive, be detached with open communication, and express our creativity and enthusiasm. So with that, if we focus on the positive and eliminate the negative, we will see doors will open and we'll get through this particular full moon. Okay. If you'd like to get in touch with me, my contact information is down below. I give one-on-one readings and written reports. Please subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification. Until next time, many, many blessings.